at Ashraf Garda.
Right, we're going to chat to Ashraf Gangrakar coming up shortly. We'll also chat to Tonya Kuri. She's featured in the My First Ramadan feature. Looking forward to that. And we'll chat to 14-year-old Nuha Shah about her exploits, and that gets featured in the Champion Spotting feature. That comes up later. Let's, however, talk as we always do around finance. Orin Tambo with me from 27.4. Appreciate your time, Orin. Thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks, Ashraf.
All right. What are the big issues you want to talk about today?
Yeah, so I thought I saw in a couple of good news. Maybe if you can start internationally with the data that's coming out of China. So I was looking at the exports for March, which came out of China. They were 23.4% high if you compare with March of the previous year. So I think this number is quite interesting and it's caught attention of a lot of investors because there has been an expectation that exports are going to slump from China, despite the fact that the economy is opening up, and that's because of the sort of the reluctance of the West. So if you talk about the US and Europe to import from China, but what is essentially happening here is to defy that. And when you look at the sources, or rather the destinations of those exports from China, it has started to export more to Russia. It has been exporting more as well to some of the countries around Asia, and yeah. So I think it has been able to really overcome, that low in terms of exports from US and Europe, and it's quite good for China. So I think for us as South Africans, just trying to bring it back home, a strong Chinese economy is always good for us. It also means that demand for commodities, which we export a lot to China, is going to be supported, and we also do have quite strong trade relations with China. So it's also going to have some sort of knock-on effects on the South African economy.
Okay, good. Let's move on to green energy projects. Those are important issues, and this one from Nedbank. Tell me about that.
Yes, so I think that was also very important. If you recall, I think if you look at over the past year or past 1.5 years, the government has come up with a number of initiatives to try and encourage households in the private sector to invest in renewable energy. And I think one of the biggest reform that was done within the energy space was to make sure that households and companies could invest in renewable energy without any license. There's scrap licenses to if you want to start a renewable energy project, and that was followed up by the announcement in the most recent budget, which provided tax incentives for the private sector. We did talk about it here on Islam Media in terms of what it meant, and I thought it was a very positive move generally overall. But we did caution that the success of that depends on the uptake by the private sector, and the announcement from Nedbank seemed to confirm that the private sector is taking up the challenge. So it indicated that it sees a 10 billion rand pipeline, of investment from private companies, and we believe that is very good. And hopefully, over time, if we have that, incremental benefits, incremental effect of that, probably at some point we're going to put this load shedding behind us.
Well, we certainly hope so. Absolutely, as we would say in the Islamic lingo, inshallah, may God willing, right? Let's talk about Stats SA has got some numbers on mining. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think Stats SA is continuously becoming the bad news bearer. Everything that comes out of Stats SA these days, it's always negative news. So remember, we talked about the manufacturing data yesterday, which was negative. And again, I think we saw the same thing with the mining data. We did indicate yesterday that we don't expect to see any positive news from the mining data, and that has been confirmed from the announcements by Stats SA. So essentially, what we saw is a decline in the volumes, the production volumes within the mining sector. And what's important here is the fact that it was the 12th contraction in the sector. So we're basically looking at the last 12 months. We've seen the mining sector contracting, and some of the key issues, we've been talking about them quite a lot. Mining companies are complaining about load shedding. We know that they don't get load shedded. What Eskom does is curtailment. So instead of getting all the energy that they want, they probably get like 80% of their normal electricity supply from Eskom. But that's essentially affecting many companies in terms of production. The other issues as well, I mean, Transnet has been a big issue. You think of coal miners that have to ship, you know, their coal to the Richards Bay coal terminal, and there've been quite a lot of issues there. And again, I mean, other issues, you know, related to policy that are affecting the mining sector. So we have seen this particular slump going on. But I think perhaps the silver lining in the data is because whenever Stats SA release this data, they talk about production volumes and sales. The sales were slightly up, about 7%, and we believe that is predominantly, I mean, primarily because of the higher commodity prices during that particular period. But again, I mean, you wouldn't put that together, put the mining data, I mean, the manufacturing data we talked about yesterday, put this data again, it kind of points to, you know, a sort of a contraction in the overall economy for the first quarter.
Okay, appreciate your time. Lots to gather from all that information. Appreciate Orin. We'll chat to you or whoever else from your team on Monday. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. 27.4 is who he represents. Orin Tambo. Yeah, as we speak every day around that, and he's involved in strategic investments on behalf of the company. We're going to get fired up with Ashraf Gangrakar in a moment.